What if I told you the secret to winning an Olympic gold medal wasn't just more training, but actually knowing when to quit? It sounds crazy, right? Well, that's the unbelievable and honestly super inspiring story of figure skater Alysa Liu. It's a journey that really makes you rethink what being a champion is all about. So yeah, how do you get to the very top of your sport, the absolute pinnacle? For Alysa Liu, the answer was to walk away. And to really get why she did that, we first have to understand the insane amount of pressure she was dealing with from a young age.
Okay, so before we can even get to the comeback, you have to understand the climb. Because from the moment she first laced up her skates, Alysa Liu wasn't just another talented kid. She was a full-on force of nature, a true prodigy who was basically on a collision course with the history books.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The pace is wild. At 10, she's already a US champion. By 12, she's landing the triple axel, a jump that some skaters work their entire careers to get. Then, at 13, she blows a 2-decade-old record out of the water to become the youngest US senior champion ever. And she didn't just do it once, she won it again the very next year at 14. The pace was just relentless.
So on one hand, you have these staggering, mind-blowing records. First US woman to land a quad, youngest two-time champ. But then you look at the other column, at what it cost her. In her own words, an abnormal childhood. No days off, feeling like she was missing out on life. And this last one, this is just shocking. Coaches telling a teenager not to drink water because of water weight. Just try to imagine that.
If you want to know how bad the pressure got, this quote says it all. When the entire world was shutting down in chaos, she felt relieved. It was an escape. That tells you everything. This wasn't just being tired or needing a break. This was complete and total burnout. And all that pressure, it leads to this moment. A moment that I think it's fair to say nobody in the skating world saw coming. She's at the absolute peak of the sport, Olympics, World Championships, and she decides she's done. Yep, just like that. She's 16, she literally has a world bronze medal around her neck, and she gets on Instagram and announces she's moving on with her life, said she'd achieved her goals and she was out. The whole sport was just stunned. And when she said she was moving on, she meant it. She wasn't just sitting around. We're talking trekking to Everest Base Camp, going on road trips, enrolling at UCLA, getting her driver's license. You know, all the normal teenage things she never got a chance to do. She was finally getting to just live. But here's the thing about a passion like skating. It doesn't just disappear. The story wasn't over, not by a long shot. It was just waiting for a new chapter. And this time, Alysa was going to be the one writing it. And you know what the spark was? It wasn't some big call from a coach or a sponsor begging her to come back. Nope, it was a ski trip. That rush of adrenaline, she realized, felt just like skating. It reminded her why she fell in love with it in the first place, before all the pressure got in the way. So she started skating again, just for fun, at first. So when she decided to get serious about competing again, everything had to be different. The old rules were out the window. Now it was her show. The power had totally flipped. She was in charge. She was picking the music, helping with choreography, controlling her own training. It was her career, on her terms. And this quote, wow, it just says everything, doesn't it? This comeback wasn't just about skating. It was about taking back her life, her body, her voice. All that freedom she found off the ice, she was bringing it with her onto the ice. This was a brand new Alysa Liu. So, the big question is, what happens when a prodigy like her comes back to the sport, but this time totally empowered and skating with pure joy? Well, the results were nothing short of historic. Okay, I just want you to look at this number for a second. 24. What in the world does that have to do with figure skating? What could possibly be so important about 24? That's how many years it had been since an American woman won individual Olympic gold. 24 years. A whole generation. For almost a quarter of a century, that medal had been just out of reach for Team USA. That is, until Alysa Liu stepped back on the ice. And let me tell you, that Olympic gold was no fluke. It was the cherry on top of an absolutely dominant comeback tour. First, she wins the World Championships. Then she takes gold at the Grand Prix final. Then she leads Team USA to gold in the Olympic team event. And finally, she goes out there and wins the big one all by herself. A perfect, storybook, clean sweep.
But just listen to what she said after she won it all. She's not talking about scores or breaking records. She's talking about being a storyteller, about expressing herself, about bringing a piece of her home, Oakland, to the biggest stage in the world. Her entire focus, her whole reason for being out there, had completely changed.
And that right there, that's what brings us to her true legacy. It goes so much deeper than any medal. It's about fundamentally changing the culture of a sport that's famous for being incredibly tough and competitive.
So meet the Blade Angels. It's the nickname for Alysa and her Olympic teammates Amber Glenn and Isabeau Lovetto. And instead of the intense backstabbing rivalry you might expect, these three built this amazing culture of friendship and support. They were cheering for each other from the sidelines, proving you don't have to tear each other down to get to the top. Her teammates felt the impact firsthand. Her Olympic teammate Amber Glenn just put it perfectly. She said, "Alyssa's story shows that the path to success isn't always a straight line. Sometimes you got to take a step back and put your own well-being first."
So, when you boil it all down, what's Alysa Liu's real legacy? It's this powerful and honestly revolutionary idea that you don't have to sacrifice your well-being to be successful. She proved that skating with joy isn't a distraction from greatness. It's actually the fuel that makes it possible.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. In the end, what's the bigger victory here? Is it the gold medal hanging around your neck, or is it the freedom you found to win that medal entirely on your own terms? I think Alysa Liu's story makes the answer pretty clear.